Welcome, everyone. Am I on time? Okay. I just use that clock. That's my official time.
I do too.
Does anyone have any announcements? Okay. I would like to mention, say congratulations to our Senator, Mr. Ron Richard, who was recently elected as the majority floor leader in the Senate of the state. And one more chance to recognize a successful and outstanding alumnus of Missouri Southern. So congratulations to him. He also always read his capital report, and I just noticed and would call your attention to, he put a budget breakdown in the most recent one, how every dollar of Missouri tax money is spent. And here on the far right in this little tiny sliver is higher education, representing 5 cents out of every tax dollar spent in the state. I would like to share my monthly installment on shared governance, if I may please, and then these are posted on the web for reading later, if anyone is interested. Today I want to talk about the role of collegiality in shared governance. MSSU's shared governance philosophy statement asserts the importance of mutual respect and trust in our decision-making processes. Shared governance requires diversity of opinion, even strong disagreement at times, but ideas must be shared in ways that undergird our common goals. Collegiality, a cooperative, respectful relationship between all campus constituents, is essential for shared governance to have productive outcomes. In an article published in the International Journal of Organizational Theory and Behavior in 2011, Dr. Bruce Speck emphasized collegiality as, quote, the heart of shared governance, unquote. He asserted that any model of shared governance that is based on animosity and antagonism will fail, because the academy is founded on the free interchange of ideas that is both vigorous and respectful. If either rigor or respect is omitted from shared governance, or if one party in any relationship must prevail, the relationship is reduced to a master-servant contract that inevitably leads to abuse and mistrust. Thank you, sir. Dr. Linda Hand, Faculty Senate President, recently shared with me a statement of collegiality from California State University at Fresno, as a reminder of the importance of keeping that heart in our shared governance endeavors. The statement reads in part, collegiality consists of a shared decision-making process and a set of values which regard the members of the various university constituencies as essential for the success of the academic enterprise. It goes on to state that though the faculty hold major responsibility for educational functions of the university, in accordance with basic policy as determined by the Board of Trustees, collegiality as a network of interlinked procedures jointly devised is required in order for the overarching goal of education to be achieved. It concludes with a reminder that the collegium must be a public bastion of respect for individuals, whether they are members of the faculty, students, staff, alumni, administrators, or members of the Board of Trustees. Shared governance can sometimes be messy or even contentious. However, when all members of the campus community are considered as colleagues, when colleagues are treated with respect, when arguments are substantiated with rigor, differences can be resolved, and the overall goal of providing an excellent learning environment can be realized. Are there any other announcements or proclamations?
Send a copy to Washington.
Copy to Washington about collegiality. Good idea. Okay, if no other announcements, we'll move to approval of the minutes. You had a chance to review them. Motions?
So moved.
Mr. Anderson?
Second.
Mr. Walker has seconded that we accept the minutes as written. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Two reports. We'll start with our treasurer, Ms. Weiss. Ice. Why is ice?
That works for me.
That works for you.
Sure, no problem. Well, good afternoon, and we look at the financial statements for the period ending October 31 of 2012. And probably the first thing you will notice is the cash graph looks different than it has in the past months. The old graph was getting a little crowded and I thought a little more difficult to read, so I wanted to provide an enhanced way of grouping the totals by month. The dollar values are represented in millions, and I feel like this graph is a little bit easier to read, and I hope you find it helpful in your review. Okay, thank you. You can see on October 31 that for FY13, cash is at $15.4 million, and this is about a $2.1 million decrease from the prior year. We've talked about cash several times. We ended the year for FY12 with a $4 million cash decrease, and we've talked about how a lot of that was on construction but mitigated by some other things, tuition increase and revenue from that. So for this month to be down 2.1, we've gained some ground because we started the year with a $4 million difference. And a lot of that is attributed to about the same time last year, within the same 4-month time frame, we had spent almost $2 million more in construction projects. Do you have any questions about the graph or the way this is laid out or designed?
Comment.
Yes, sir.
You're right, it does make it a lot easier to read.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Like you.
So when we move on to the statement of net assets, you will notice on the board designated cash and board designated investments, you'll see $1 million swing between those two line items. And this is from a Cedars investment that matured in October. And so we moved those dollars into the board designated cash line. The total assets as of October 31 are at $125 million. The total liabilities are at $29 million. And the total net assets are at $96 million. The next financial statement that we take a look at is the comparative statement of revenue, expenses, and changes in net assets. Typically look at the difference column. You can see that the total operating revenues between the 2 years had a decrease of $674,000. Total operating expenses had an increase of $90,000. You can see state appropriations on here have increased by $25,000. And I went back and I looked at this same time frame last year when I was reporting, and of course we had the appropriation cuts. And so during this meeting at the same time last year, I was reporting that appropriations had decreased by $550,000. So it's very nice to say it's an increase that's small, but it is nice to have a positive number versus a decrease, which gives us an increase in net assets of a decrease in net assets between the 2 years of $700,000. That concludes my report. Do you have any questions?
No questions, I'll entertain a motion to accept it as presented.
So moved.
Mr. Fleischaker, second. Mr. Ewing, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you. Mr. Bust, Business Affairs?
Thank you. I'll give you a very brief construction report because there's not a lot of construction going on campus right now. Mainly it's the master plan implementation projects, and we're continually looking at the landscape plan that we have RDG working on for us, and we meet on a regular basis on that, and the campus gateway signs. I would imagine within approximately a year from now you'll see some major differences on this campus as far as gateway signs, wayfinding signs, and beautification projects. And program prioritization process continues on our side of the house. The process is now in the hands of the program owners, so they are diligently working on their side and getting information required for the committee, and that'll be presented by the end of this calendar year. Finally, every year we do a financial presentation to the campus to let them know where we stand on the finances now that the audit has been complete, and that presentation will happen December 4th, 5th, and 6th. We decided this year to do a few more presentations, so we'll have 5 this year in 3 different buildings. Linda, Jeff, and I will give a brief overview of the audit, the FY 2013 budget, and anything that we anticipate for 14.
Is this open where people that work here can just pick the time they come and make it easier for
There's
them?
5 different times on 3 different days.
great. It's good.
Morning and afternoon.
Morning, afternoon,
That's great too.
different buildings. That's it.
Thank you. Questions for Mr. Hughes? I think that's a wonderful outreach for you guys to do, and encourage everybody on campus to participate in those and inform themselves about not only the status of our finances, but some of the decision-making processes that we go through. Thank you. I understand that Mr. Brueggemann is otherwise occupied with the national cross-country events. Either that or he's just getting ready to go to the basketball game at 2 o'clock. We're not quite sure. We'll find out from him later. But we have his substitute today, Ms. Winger.
Thank you, Madam Chair. A few highlights from the written report that you have before you. A few athletic accomplishments for Brandon Williams was the MIAA Defensive Player of the Year. That's a pretty big deal. Also, in regards to the National Cross Country Meet going on, we have over 750 student athletes and coaches in Joplin, Missouri right now as we speak. It's going to be a great event tomorrow. We'd love to have your support there. Tonight starts opening ceremonies at 7:30 in Leggett and Platte. And tomorrow the races begin at 10:30 with the men's 10K and 11:30 for the women's race, which is the 6K. Along with that is the Joplin Initiative, and that was started by the Track and Field Coaches Association. So all over the country, cross-country teams have been donating money to Missouri Southern and the Joplin R8 for tornado relief. So they'll be presenting a check at the banquet on Saturday evening at the Holiday Inn Event Center. MIAA meetings are scheduled for December 10th and 11th, and Jared, myself, and Dr. Marcy Archer, our faculty athletics representative, will be at those meetings in Kansas City. We do have a small update on Sterling Thomas. For those of you who, you probably are aware that a Lindenwood football student athlete was injured during our game a couple of weeks ago in a collision, and he will have a long road to recovery, but we need to keep him in our thoughts and prayers. Missouri Southern did partner with the MOSO Football Parents Group, and they did a fundraiser with some bracelet sales, and those donations will go directly to the family to assist with any incidental expenses. The NCAA does have a catastrophic insurance program, so they'll be utilizing that as well. The institutional self-study guide is ongoing. That project started with each of the chairs meeting on October 11th. They're currently continuing through that review process and will be finishing up in January. And the agreed upon procedures audit is going on right now to be completed at the end of today. They'll be leaving campus, but we expect the report back in December and January. Does anyone have any questions?
I do, Julie. It says here, Brandon Coffey has been hired on Monday as the new Director of Athletic Marketing Corporate Sales.
Yes.
Is that a local young man?
Yes, he
Is
was.
that Ron Coffey's boy? But he's local, he's from Joplin here?
I believe that he is. I honestly don't know what his hometown
They go by
is,
Randy?
but he goes by Randon.
Okay.
He's been with us for,
He was Kevin Grimes' intern for 4 years as a student here.
I just,
He started in the honors program,
Oh, he did.
yeah, so he's from around here somewhere.
his, if it's the same one I'm thinking of, his dad used to sell real estate here for many years, Ron Coffey. That's the one I'm thinking of. And then this boy worked for MoDOT for a while. Of course, when I say boy, about everybody around here is.
That probably is not him, I don't think. I don't think you work for
not
him.
different copy.
Okay.
He's pretty good, yeah. He does a great job.
Julie,
Good.
besides the
Thank you.
fundraiser, the fundraising and everything, efforts of the cross-country deal, has there been any kind of just an estimate tabulation of how much money this national cross-country meet is bringing into the community of Joplin? It's probably quite amazing if you're just gonna have just 750 athletes besides parents and staff and everything like that. It's probably amazing what that would really.
I do not have an estimate
I
on
know
that
probably,
amount
but
of
it
money,
would
but it
probably
does
be-
have a positive impact within the
Yeah,
city of
that's what I wanted
Joplin
to-
and state of Missouri,
yeah.
the prestige of hosting,
Yeah.
along with the financial impact. We have, all of the hotels are filled. If you try to go out to eat in
Right.
Joplin this weekend, you might have a hard time getting in somewhere, but
And be careful driving around. 'cause
yes,
they're running
lots of
around.
people running around.
I think you're asking for an economic impact study, and I doubt there's been a.
No, I know,
done
but I
to-
just, I just wanted to, to
Jared
disseminate that
gave a number.
information of the
Yeah,
fact
it
that
was
it
half.
is a
Yeah.
big economic
Yeah.
boom for this community for Southern to get that.
I thought Coach Rutledge said the luncheon we had said it was about $500,000. Does that sound right? That's my
It
recollection.
could be, I hate to really say a number if I don't know.
And this is the second time in 5 years we've had it, so it's to the athletic department's credit and Coach Rutledge that this thing's happened, so, thank you.
Julie, you're in a very prestigious program. I think you finish it off in January. Would you just take a moment to tell the board about that?
Certainly. I've been selected to be a part of the Pathways program, which is an NCAA program for minorities and females that are interested in becoming directors of athletics. And so I've been going to different things throughout the year. Just finished up with my last one last week. So it's been a great opportunity for me. I've learned a lot about athletics in all divisions, a lot of things geared towards leadership, so it was a great opportunity, and I graduate in January at convention.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Mr. Brueggemann told us about that when you started it. It's another honor for Southern.
Thank
Have
you.
accepted for that. Anything else for athletics? Well, thank you for substituting.
Thank you for having me.
We'll move to Ms. Graffam for development.
Thank you. A few things to highlight off your written report. We had earlier this week the 75th day of school, which we had identified and chose that day to celebrate a few other things on campus, or to center some 75th anniversary activities around. We had that day, we had a retiree reception and brunch, which I think went very well. It's always nice for them to come back and be able to see each other, as well as for us to have an opportunity to interact with them and to thank them, because they worked very hard to get the university where it is today, all of those people. So we had about 40 people there, faculty and staff members, and then some of their family members. So it was a great event. And then we had some cake here in Billingsley Student Center for the students, which was a lot of fun. And then the final thing that we did that day, in addition, there's some day-long things, specials in the Lion's Den and whatnot, but we also, at the 50th anniversary, the Memorial Plaza was dedicated to our veterans that's out near Hearns Hall, and we took that opportunity to rededicate it. A lot of things have happened at that point in time. That was our only flag on campus. That was the primary flag, and since that time, two things happened. The Webster Hall was built with the international flags in front of it, as well as the 9/11 Memorial with the large flag. So it was an opportunity to further thank our veterans and to honor them, and we worked very closely with Captain Self. She was a really great resource and help in putting that event together, and flag protocol and the ceremony in and of itself, and I think it went very, very well. And if you'll notice, if you drive by there, the flag that's on there now honors each of our branches of service. It represents all the branches of service, and again, just very helpful in working through all of that. So, and for anyone that was there, I think it was a quite powerful and moving event that day, as our veterans, all the veterans in the audience were invited to come and participate in the flag raising. And for me, anyway, that was quite moving. So we just want to thank, and there was a huge joint effort from Captain Self to University Relations and Marketing. The Student Senate helped. The music department helped. There were a lot of people involved in that. It was very nice. So, on with 75th anniversary, you're going to see our float appear in a few holiday parades. Remember, the float made its debut during homecoming and Maple Leaf, and so the Missouri Southern Float is going to be in some of our holiday parades in the area. We also have coming up on December 5th, we're going to do an open house at the Ralph Valgray Alumni Center from 10 to 6 that day. And it's going to focus on different groups at different times of the day. Children from the Child Development Center, for instance, in the morning, our students more in the afternoon, and then more community and things in the later in the day. So that people can see the mansion. They can have pictures with Rory, with our mascot Rory and Santa, and crafts, and just a variety of things to help people. And part of that too is being able to purchase. At that point in time, you would be able to buy buy a certificate for your history book. The book is still in progress, but we certainly wanted people to have access to that. If you want to give it as a Christmas gift, like I'm going to do for some of my family members, please don't tell them. I just did. I know. As soon as it was coming out of my mouth, I was like, But you can buy a certificate that you can then give, and then when the book is finished in the spring, you'll be able to have the book, the history book. So lots of fun things going on with that. Crossroads has been honored again. The Marcom Awards have been announced for 2012, and you're able to enter, because of the time frame, we're able to put multiple editions in for that judging. The Fall Crossroads, remember this is a student-produced publication, so the communications department does a great job, our communication students, and working with the Alumni Association as well. The Fall 2011 Crossroads won platinum for writing and gold for design and overall. Spring of 2012 Crossroads was gold for design, and the Crossroads Winter Spring of 2012 was gold for overall. So just very proud of everyone involved in that effort. It's a great publication. We had our Lantern Society dinners. You may recall last time I talked about that it was upcoming. We had about 100 people at that event, and went very, very well. And I partially wanted to point that out because your chocolates that I put at your spot we had those made for our participants that night, for our donors that night that were at the Lantern Society dinner in honor of the 75th anniversary. So a little something for you to take. We have a new addition to our annual fund this year. Annual fund's getting started. We're reaching out to parents. So we have a solicitation going out to first-time students, the parents of first-time students. That's a new piece as we continue to work on audience segmentation and trying to broaden that annual fund. That's a new one that we're just doing this fall. So have that happening. It's hard to believe, but it will be January soon. And Martin Luther King Junior Day is coming up. MLK Day is coming up in January. January 21st, I just wanted to get that on your radar screens because I know some of you come and participate in the breakfast, and since we won't have a December meeting, just a reminder for you to think about that, that we'll have the breakfast at 7 a.m. and we're still working out on the agenda, but as we have in the past, we'll have guest speakers as well as community service projects in the area to honor that day. And since we didn't have, like I said, no December meetings, I wanted you to think about that date. Also wanted to let you know we have hired a new graphic designer, so we're very excited. He's been on board just for about a week and a half now and is doing a great job. And we also are working on our internal communications piece. Communications are always evolving on campus, and something that we had been talking about internally for a while and honestly hadn't gotten it pushed to the forefront, and thanks to Staff Senate helped nudge that along, so thank you guys, in terms of needing to take a look at how we're getting messages out to our internal community. So we're making some changes there in how we send daily updates, that things that need to go out very quickly, as well as we're now looking to redesign our electronic newsletter that goes out weekly to make it more user-friendly, easier to read and follow and glance at and see the information. So, and we have a few people headed up to the CASE conference coming up in next month in Chicago, which is the Council for Advancement and Support of Education. So it focuses on alumni communications, development in those areas. So always we try to rotate around and send a few people so we can go up and get best practice ideas and see if there are things that we can implement to strengthen our programs.
I'll share all the wonderful things that you're doing so other people can learn from you.
Yeah.
It's been an extremely busy semester, and I think the 75th anniversary things have looked so much fun and so much community involvement in a lot of those things, as well as campus. So it's been a really fun project and a meaningful project. So thank you for all you're doing with that too.
Thank you.
On top of your regular jobs.
Well, it's a team effort, and that's what I think is making it work so well. So, different areas stepping up with different pieces, and last night, for instance, was our Movies Through the Decades event, which Student Activities has been. They had that great idea and have been implementing that. And so, Psycho was last night. Yes. If you wanted a sleepless night.
I've served as board liaison to that 75th anniversary committee, and it has just been a delight to see the activity and the enthusiasm and the creativity coming from all corners of campus. And probably 1,000 ideas that they were not able to pull all of them off, but the ones that they have done have just been amazing. And hopefully some traditions that will continue in the community too. I think we've come up with several things that we will see go on even after anniversary year. Anything else for Ms. Graffam? Okay, then we'll move to Dr. Lapira for academic affairs.
All right, I recently attended it was a couple weeks ago, went to Missouri Higher Education Data Summit in Kansas City, and some of the topics were reverse transfer policy, dual credit, performance funding, and just as I went ahead and put in your handout, the performance indicators that Missouri Southern will be measured on, and the indicator for student success and progress will be our freshman to sophomore retention. So that's an area that we're really going to be focusing on and trying to continue to improve on. Second indicator, which is for increasing degree attainment, would be our total degrees awarded. So we'll be working on increasing that. Thirdly, we are working on improving our professional occupational licensure tests, and that's an indicator for our quality of student learning. Fourth one would be to increase our educational revenue, state appropriations plus net tuition revenue per full-time equivalent student that's at or below the increase in the consumer price index. And that is something that I know Rob will be working with. And then the fifth one we chose, and that's, so it'd be a Missouri Southern's custom indicator, and that's the percentage of students in the freshman cohort who are successfully retained after participating in a first-year learning community. So we're really focusing on our learning communities where we pair our freshman experience, university experience course with an academic course and follow those students and see if their retention is going to be higher than the students that aren't in those communities. So those are some of the hot items in the state, and we of course are focusing on those. Second thing is, with Noel Levitz here, the academic subcommittee has been working at identifying strategies to get the enrollment up and to keep students here. And some of those are, we want to really focus on our departmental websites and get those more visual, toot our horn, so to speak. Some of our outstanding graduates, some of our outstanding internships, and really, students, prospective students, when they get on those websites, they're not going to stay on there if it's just narrative. They want to see video and things that are attractive. So we're working on that. And then looking at enrollment reports by schools so that we can look at trends. What areas are we losing students? Why might we be losing those? Of course, program prioritization is going to play right into that, tracking our numbers. Thirdly, we're looking at trying to improve our efforts to get students enrolled. We are in pre-enrollment. In fact, freshmen could begin enrolling yesterday. And it's critical that we get those students that are here right now enrolled during pre-enrollment so that we know that we've got them for next semester. We don't want to lose them. So we're really trying to improve efforts on campus, getting some signs on campus. I mean, when you all came to campus today, there probably wasn't any indication to you that we are enrolling right now. So we want signs, we want academic advisors to really be pushing to get all of their advisees in to enroll. We also are looking at our campus tours and what are the messages that students, prospective students and their parents are getting when they walk through buildings and on campus. So those are just a few of the things that the academic subcommittee are working on. We also, I talked to you before about we had our lunch and learn sessions for academic secretaries, and we had our last one this Wednesday, and those were great. I had a lot of good feedback from those. The secretaries, we had lunch, and then they just shared their own expertise and knowledge, and it was, they really enjoyed that. In fact, I got an email yesterday, and I put it down there, because this was the kind of feedback we were getting, and Linda Garza, she said, thank you for having these lunch sessions. I'm learning new things, as well as getting to know our fellow secretaries. Our secretaries don't know each other across campus, and she said it's been a great experience and a lot of fun. So we're going to do that again next semester. So those have been great. Alpha Chi, we did have our induction Sunday, October 28th, 97 new members into the National Scholastic Honor Society. Program prioritization is moving on. And we actually have 2 of our academic departments that have submitted their reports. They're due December 15th, but we got a couple that are in, and so that tells us that the task force is just about ready to get some training and get ready to talk about how they're going to evaluate all these reports as they come in. And of course, that goal is the end of March. Hopefully, we can try to reach that. I need to announce the retirement of 2 faculty members. Dr. A.J. Anglin is going to retire at the completion of the this semester, this fall semester. And then Dr. Richard Lanier will retire at the end of the spring 2013 semester. The other sheet you have is this color, and that is, we've been trying to provide every month our faculty notes and some of the outstanding presentations, publications, performances, and activities, scholarly activities that our faculty are doing. So it's always interesting. I know Crystal and I read these and go, wow, we don't even know what all of our fellow faculty are doing. And so these are exciting. I think highlight one that I would highlight on this page would be Josie Mai. It's about 3/4 of the way down. She's an associate professor in art. She published a book that's called Small Art, Big Love, a community art and writing project. And she paired artwork from several Joplin area artists as well as others with writings from Missouri Southern students majoring in art. And the focus of the book was to depict what living, loving, and working in a community could look like. So that's pretty neat stuff, and getting the community involved. And Crystal and I are shooting for our first newsletter. We're going to start having these Focus on Faculty newsletters that will have some of these interesting items, and that will be in December coming out. We're going to try to do that probably 4 times a year, so we're excited about getting that out. And really, we were talking yesterday in the department chair meetings, they said they'd like to send it to alumni also, and I thought that was a good idea because a lot of the alumni want to see what the faculty are doing. So I believe that's the end of my report. Any questions?
I've got a question. I was looking at your performance indicators, and I'm going from the Missouri Department of Higher Education 2020 dashboard. One of the indicators on there are increased percent of Missouri public graduates who score above the 50th percentile on a nationally recognized test of general education.
We didn't choose that one. If you look, there's a choice in that category. We chose number 3. All of these there were choices, and number 3 we felt like we had our best shot at. We do a great job on our license tests, and so we chose that one. We don't want to choose something that we're not feeling good about.
I respect what you're saying, but I beg to differ on you a little bit. We need to focus on areas where we need to improve too. And this particular measure is important, not for fields, for communication and analyzation skills. And I guess I will be interested in seeing how we're going to treat that if that's not one of the performance indicators.
Well, it's interesting you said that because based upon our scores, we meet the target for open enrollment in university. We do not meet the target for a moderately selective university. So based upon that, we felt like we better shoot for something that we think we can, because this has to do with funding. I mean, we're going to get money for these, so.
No.
But besides performance funding, we still want to focus on. Is that what you're saying?
No, what I'm saying, what we need to focus on especially is student learning outcomes. This particular measure is important for student learning outcomes. You're right, it may not be a major consideration for funding, but it is a major consideration for student learning outcomes.
Yes.
And so I would hope that we do not ignore that performance indicator, even though we're not, at this point, we're not assured of funding for improvements on that.
I agree. I think everything they've indicated is critical. We had to select those that we felt that we would most likely be able to reach.
Was the last, I happen to have it right here just by some chance, although I don't have the list. The last 4 years, statewide, the average has run from 59 to 65. We're running from 51 to 59. We are getting better, it looks like, but we should focus on continuous improvement in student learning outcomes, and this to me is something that should be very critical for us to look at how our students are doing in the general education test. So.
Yes, I don't disagree.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments for Dr. LaPiro? I think the newsletter idea, I think bringing these highlights to us is really important, and I thank you, your people, for doing that. And in 75th anniversary, we talked about the spring spree, which is scheduled for next April, which will be a wonderful time to highlight some of the departments and professors and some of their work, and maybe even having a book signing for some of the people who are published, and just all kinds of things to bring the community's attention to what an accomplished faculty we do have. So that'll be fun too. Okay, then Mr. Fullerton, Student Affairs, please.
Just a brief update, staffing update. We want to welcome Erin Lewis, who joined us November 1st as Director of Conferences and Meetings. And of course, you know Erin from the Athletic Department across campus. Julie Jensen, who had experience working in financial aid at Missouri State, will be joining our financial aid office as the new Title IV Aid and Compliance Counselor. And then Abby Butel will be joining us from Berea College in Kentucky as the Assistant Registrar. You've heard a couple comments about the Veterans Memorial Ceremony, and I just wanted to personally acknowledge Mr. Greg Jackson out of our Project Stay office. He's an academic advisor for Project Stay, which is one of our TRIO programs, who came forward with the idea of the veterans flag and that whole concept, and so we're very appreciative of that. Dr. Lapierre has already talked about the Noel Levitz information. We had the retention planning workshop, where many of those things came out of November 1st and 2nd, and then the recruitment planning workshop the 12th and 13th. The most important thing to tell you, and you can see the committees there, the academic subcommittee, research, undergraduate, price, purpose, promotion, all of those committees have been working on SWOT analysis and doing review of student data, parent data, counselor data. All of the information that the committees are putting together will be on a SharePoint site that Al Stadler has developed for those committees and for the rest of the campus. And so anyone on campus will be able to access that data as we move forward with these initiatives that you've heard Dr. Lapierre talk about. Just want to mention Residence Life, Student Activities, and Student Senate hosted the Safe Halloween on October 31st. And we have some photos for you. You should have some color photos there. 740 participants in that event. We heard nothing but great comments for that. And so what a great outreach for the community. We had students, faculty, staff, their families, community people with no ties to the campus. And the children walked away having a great experience. And as you can see, the little girl at the top of that page, even on the right-hand side, was decorated as a statue angel. And several people, when she was standing in our pumpkin patch, thought she was a real statue. Some people really went to a lot of effort and work on that. One of the Academic Affairs worked with the Bursar's office to establish a new due date for fees in the spring, January 21st, which is the Monday of the second week of classes. Hopefully this will alleviate some of the issues that the students have had during the first drop period there, and so I want to make sure that we get that out. We talk a lot about career services and community involvement. To date, this semester, Career Services has posted full-time, part-time, and internships, a total of 1,052 jobs on the Higher Lion website. And so we are definitely out in the community, and they are definitely working with that. We just want to take a few minutes again to say thank you to all of the faculty, staff. Again, we had about 20 to 25 faculty staff that were in a full-day workshop with Noel Levitz on retention, and they have identified many of the things that Dr. Lapierre has talked about. But it is encouraging to see that many of these efforts, the top issues, questions, concerns are coming to the forefront, and then now we're in the stage where we're developing action plans for those. So. That is my report.
Thank you.
If that's the fastest I've done.
Good job. Questions? Okay, thank you. Then we'll move to Dr. Hand, Faculty Senate President.
For faculty, it's week 13 out of 16, so we're all in a panic. Are we gonna get everything done that we're supposed to do this semester? It's also pre-registration time, as Pat talked about. Unfortunately, there are classes that are already full. I nominate myself as supervisor because I stayed up till midnight. So at the stroke of midnight, I could get my student in a chemistry class that's now full. So I'm not sure what's the solution. I have an idea though. Perhaps we need some more chemistry teachers. But to me, it's a really good sign. I mean, this is the first day freshmen could enroll in classes we're already filling up. So it looks to me like things are going pretty well for enrollment. Pat also talked about program prioritization. My department is one of the ones who has theirs done already. No thanks to me though. But my department head loves to get those things done pretty quickly. But the point I wanted to make is that it's not just department heads doing this. He parceled out the work. You write this, you write this, you research this, you research this. So it's not just a department head or the deans, it's everybody on campus is working on it. At our last Senate meeting, Darren came and did a presentation on what Noel Levitz is doing. And it turned into sort of a question answer period that he just continued to answer questions, answer questions, answer questions. Finally, I had to make them shut up because he would have had to stay there the rest of his life, I think. And so I said this in our meeting yesterday, most of the faculty, I think, enjoy having these kind of meetings because we like to hear ourselves talk and, you know, ask questions and that sort of thing. So I think it's a good idea maybe that we could have some more just town hall sort of meetings with various people, although I'm not sure budget and audit's going to be that big of a draw.
I set the bar high, right?
He was really good. Maybe it's the material. I mean, those Noel Levitz guys are really interesting. but faculty really do enjoy hearing and asking questions, and they were nice to you too, weren't they? Pretty nice.
Very great questions. Very good meeting.
And you know, we really appreciate that Darren came and he answered questions and was honest and never got mad or anything, so it was all good. And the last thing I want to say is any of you are sure welcome to come to Senate just to watch or to give a speech or talk about something. And we also want to welcome you to give us any sort of tasks that you feel like need faculty expertise or input, and we'll be glad to go right to work on them. So let me know if you have anything you want us to be working on. That's my report.
Are you sure you want to say that?
I meant everybody but you.
Since you obviously can't get it.
And we will run that all through channels.
Okay. I'll put that right in my box, whatever it is.
I don't think you want the board assigning tasks to the faculty, quite frankly, so we would need to mediate that.
Maybe I better repeat that.
But thank you for the offer.
I would make one comment about something else. Financial details are not exciting to many people. But I would tell you that it would be good for the faculty to have an interest in this, because this will help show where our university is headed in the future. And in that respect, it becomes very important to them, because it can not only affect the university, but them directly. So even though some people would consider, to use a mild word, dry, it's very important that everybody here on campus be aware of what's going on financially, and I think it's important to everybody, and I'm just thankful that they're willing to give everybody the opportunity to learn about it.
I just wanted to make them feel bad, because remember, I'm a math teacher. If I think it's dry, you know it's going to be pretty bad.
I think I'm going to move us right along before there's any more alienation between the faculty and the business department. Okay, let's move to staff. Ms. Arwood, can you rescue us, please?
Coming together, shall we say. First, I'd like to say Staff Senate would like to echo what Joanne has said earlier about the rededication for the Veterans Memorial. Many of us were there. The weather was beautiful. I mean, it was a privilege to be there and honor those that have served our country. So it was a beautiful, beautiful event. As the Staff Senate continues to explore new methods of communication, we tried something a little different during our last meeting. Rather than asking administration to attend, we asked one of our departments to present to us. We invited Heather Arnold. She's the Director of Aquatics and Wellness, and she shared a little bit of information about her department and what they do. She gave us a great overview about many of the activities they offer, and the one she's most excited about is the Live Well luncheons. It seems luncheons are a big hit. She mentioned that on average, 30 to 50 faculty and staff come together. They have an opportunity to get away from their office, interact on a little bit more social level, which creates, a social level of wellness. In addition, while they're there, they're gaining information on topics related to physical and nutritional wellness. So it's a general all-around well-being event. The response to her presentation was overwhelmingly positive, so we hope to continue this. I hope we've set a precedence, and we'd like to see what other departments are doing, what other people are doing on staff. Dr. Lapira is doing an amazing job acknowledging faculty accomplishments, and this is a way for staff to gain a deeper understanding of what fellow staff members do to serve our students and our campus community. We also want to welcome Lydia McGriff. David isn't here to mention it. She is a Student Senate representative who is now attending our Staff Senate meetings. Maria Bruggerman attends on behalf of the Faculty Senate, so we again are trying to do a sharing of information. So that concludes my report. Any questions?
Thank you. I just think the more of that you can do, because it's not that large a campus or institution, but it's amazing how you can come to work every day and not know what your fellow workers are doing, just building away or even down the hall. So I think that's a great.
Just yesterday I met a secretary that I talked to on the phone forever, and I did not know her by face. So it was amazing. So it's nice.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, Mr. Sigers couldn't be with us today for the student report.
And we'll move on. Were there any board committee meetings? We have anything there? So Dr. Speck, the floor is yours.
Thank you. On Wednesday, on behalf of Missouri Southern, I testified at the Missouri Joint Committee on Education regarding a higher education funding formula. I have posted my testimony on our website, and you have a copy of the testimony before you. Funding formulas go in and out of vogue in higher education. Currently, they are in vogue. What often happens is that a state government will want to find an equitable means of providing resources to higher education and develop a formula for doing so. The formula may fall into disuse because over time the state can only afford to maintain it. For example, if a formula is based on enrollment and enrollment increases, the state may discover that appropriation is no longer sufficient to reward enrollment increases. Funding formulas also should take into consideration the various types of public higher education institutions in a state. And generally, those institutions are quite diverse, with programs and needs that are hard to weigh in the balance. In fact, at the end of the committee's 2-hour meeting, Senator Pierce noted that the committee's task is going to be difficult because the testimony the committee heard demonstrated how large and complex public higher education is in Missouri. This week, we celebrated the 75th day of our 75th year with a number of events. In particular, you've already heard about this, the Veterans Memorial Plaza rededication ceremony was a moving experience for me. And I was very proud to be part of a long tradition at Southern of honoring veterans. Captain Amanda Self, the Army National Guard professor of the MSSU Military Science Program, was involved in that ceremony. And I've asked Captain Self, to introduce herself to you today. Captain Self.
Good afternoon. I briefly talked about myself earlier in the luncheon, but overall I've been in the military going on 12 years now. I've got a lot of diverse experience, deployed overseas in a non-deployed status plus on a stateside. So I'm very excited to have this program in my threshold and be able to teach the students and future leaders. But if I could briefly go over the program so everyone has a little bit better understanding what it is. And it is Show Me Gold, Show Me from Missouri, but GOLD stands for Guard Officer Leadership Development Program. So it's sort of like ROTC. ROTC is an easy term for it, but as we get to the program, it will switch to just be called GOLD program. And what it is a 4-year program if it is for someone who's coming right off the street. If they're currently in the Guard then they can come in their sophomore or junior years and still participate in the program. But it's strictly a commissioning source for the Missouri National Guard. So if you're in the program, you have to be an officer in the Missouri National Guard as your outcome. You can't go active duty, you can't go to another state. So that's where it limits on the competition of other programs that are in the area, but it specifically helps out Missouri. And with that, it is structured to where all the training in the first 3 years are set up to make a soldier successful at OCS, Officer Commissioning School, okay? So everything I teach them is to get them commissioned in their first 3 years. In their 4th year, this is what you really need to know to go lead soldiers, kind of thing. So it's very book-oriented the first 3 years, but that 4th year is, hey, this is what they don't teach you, but what I've learned and what my superiors have taught me. And we call it ODP, Officer Development, so that's what it's focused on that 4th year. But what is good about this program is that, one, mostly in the Guard, that if you commission as an officer, a lot of times you're not finished with your degree. Well, then we lose you, because once you're put in a unit and you're tasked and you're tasked and you're tasked, obviously as your individual responsibilities in school can go by the wayside. And then if you don't have your degree in a certain amount of time, then you're kicked out, because you can't be an officer without a degree. So this is a way for us to say, guess what? We are going to support you, and we're going to keep you non-deployable, and we're going to keep you right here, because the bang is in the buck for us long term, because we get better educated officers and more dedicated officers in the long run, but we're not going to touch you. We're going to let you get everything you need from the university and from your instructors for your 4 years of your degree. And then we have a better chance of retention in the long run. So it's a give and take relationship. But what is great about this program also is after their junior summer, or the summer after their junior year, they actually go commission and come back to me as officers, as lieutenants. So they don't have to wait until after they graduate to commission. They come back to me, and then they actually get hands-on experience, because then they become the officers in charge of the rest of the candidates in the program. So they're the platoon leaders. They're the staff officers. And so then I teach them, once they're already commissioned, this is what you do. This is how you do this. And then there's that challenge for them is, hey, you were just their peer and their buddy, and now you got to be in charge. How do you tactfully do that? So there's a lot of aspects that really help them in the long run on commissioning early, and then they still stay with me. They get to finish their degree, and then once they've graduated, then they get put into a unit and actually get to go succeed. And then a standard week for them is going to be pretty busy. They have to do PT with me 3 times a week in the mornings, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So we'll be running around campus, calling cadence, doing all that good stuff. I don't know that any of you will be here at 6 in the morning, but those that are, we'll get to see that. They'll be doing push-ups, sit-ups, confidence courses, that kind of thing. Then they've got class, no matter what class they're in, whether it's their 1 year freshman on forward, then they get 2 class periods during the week. So we're looking at Tuesday, Thursday, of course that could change, and then I teach them in the classroom. And then they have a lab, which is 2 to 3 hours, depending on how academics works in the schedule. But then that's when we go out to the field, and we actually shoot weapons, and we work on tactics, and we work on patrols and basic infantry tactics of the Army. And we do that. Paintball, that kind of thing, to where if you get hit with a paintball, you know you're really hurt. So there's not any of this, I killed you, no, I didn't. So we're gonna have some fun with it, but at the same time really teach hardcore tactics and what they're supposed to be doing. And it gears them then for their officer commissioning, where they have to go to pass. It's an 8-week thing in either South Dakota or in Mississippi. And so then they will take everything I've taught them for 3 years and then go apply it and get graded on everything they do. And if they pass there, then they can move on to be officers. So everything in that lab is going to be very critical. Once a semester, then we have to have what's called a field training exercise, a FTX. Most of this will happen at Fort Leonard Wood or Camp Crowder, Camp Clark, and then it's where we spend a whole weekend out in the field. We take our rucksacks and our weapons in our little tents, and we go out there and we practice from sun up to sundown, and then spend the night. And then I pester them all night, and then they get up the next day and get pestered some more, and then we come back. In the summers, whenever, before they go to camp, they will have a 2-week annual training with me, which will be much of the same, out in the field for a straight 2 weeks. Guess what? It's not fun. Well, some people think it's fun like me, but that's why I've been for 12 years. But some of the kids are not going to like it, and that's going to be their reality of, no, this is not what I want to do. Or, yeah, this is exactly what I want. So there's a lot that goes with it. There's going to be a lot of hours, and then of course as the program develops, we're looking forward to helping out at the home sporting events, you know, doing things, pairing up with athletics, pairing up with other programs and with other team members and doing things. I'm lucky with the CJ department, so with the police academy, we're going to pair up and get them a little bit more motivated about PT and doing things that they don't normally do, but we really want their help with. So it's going to be a full-blown experience for them if they really like it, or then if they don't like it, then it'll be a good wake-up call to say, no, this isn't what I want, before they're actually commissioned as officers and then they're out front of soldiers, and it doesn't go very well. So thank you for your time, and I look forward to meeting all of you and working with you one-on-one. I've already worked with several of you, but I look forward to it. Thank you.
Captain Self, before you sit down, I would enjoy your recounting again of your tour in Afghanistan.
Yeah, yes, sir. I've been deployed 3 times, plus been to Italy, Germany, different things. Iraq, I was a machine gunner. I was enlisted first before I became officer. And I went to Iraq in '03. We were the first military police company that hit the ground. So it was kind of an awakening. I was the youngest person in my company. I was 17, and they gave me a machine gun, and they said, let's go. And I said, oh, okay, let's go. So really kind of developed me, and that was my make it or break it of, I really love the Army, and I want to do this or I don't. So did that, and then came back, and I had different assignments. Finally went officer route, and deployed as a platoon leader of a military police platoon in Kosovo. I worked with the Kosovar police departments, and then my platoon got to go off and work with human trafficking and try and combat human trafficking, because it's Kosovo is actually, Kosovo and Serbia and are 2 of the highest populated human trafficking countries in the world. So we really got to dive in on that. Then I got back and went to some military schools, did some assignments, then went to Afghanistan. I got assigned 24 soldiers, and we were told to go live on the Pakistani border. So we were embedded with the Afghanistan border police. So we lived, ate, breathed with them. I had 3 interpreters that were mine, and we trained their police officers and lived out in the sticks with them. We got to go on patrols and go on missions with them. It was a very good experience because, of course, in that culture, women don't take leadership roles, much less do anything else. They don't really leave the house. If they do, it's to go to the market and to come right back. So when I stood out there and said, I'm here, and by the way, I'm in charge, they were a little bit skeptical at first, but I was very, very fortunate to have their general that was in charge of all of them came to me, and he pulled all of his staff officers and all of his leaders around, and he said, he was from Kabul, so he had a little bit different mentality on things. Kabul is their capital, so they're a little bit more liberal there, but he said, whatever she says goes. So he goes, as long as she's competent and she shows she's a good leader, then that's all that matters, and you follow her. And after that, there were no issues. I'm sure there was talk behind my back, but but to my face, they were as good as they could get, and they did, and we accomplished a lot of really good things. One more thing, Sarah, I'd like to say about that. When I was there, I got to take 12 soldiers and fly in the middle of the night and go to a place called Bargimatal, and it is the northernmost point in Afghanistan, and it is cut off from the rest of the country. And the Taliban own it, so we were sent up there to take over. So I took some of my border police guys, and I took 12 of my guys, and we were going in. And up there, they had never ever seen a female outside of their family members. So I show up, and even the locals, even the little kids were scared to death of me. Had no idea who I was, what I was. They were okay with the men, but with me, couldn't have it. And so I asked them, I said, what's going on? And they said, you're the first woman outside of this tribe that any of them have ever seen. And there were elders of the tribe, 70 years old, that said, I've never seen anyone outside of our tribe because we've been so cut off and on our own and living and doing our own thing. And so that was a crazy experience because not only, and that was toward the end of my tour, so I had gotten kind of used to them understanding, hey, I'm good, culturally we're okay, I abide by your cultures, you do me. And then we get up there, and to have little toddlers scared to death of you, even if you have candy in your hand or something like that. So there were a lot of adversities to overcome and to get through in order to accomplish the mission. But at the end of the day, you've got a mission and you've got orders and you will execute. So we did that, and we luckily when they dropped us off, they flew us in, they dropped us off, and they said, well, you could be here 3 days or a month. We just really don't know when we'll be back to get you, so just look out for us. And so we had rucksacks, and that was it. So we were like, well, all right. And there was this big river that actually is the most beautiful river I've ever seen, and I've been a lot of places, but it was crystal blue and clear. And so we were like, well, at least we have water. And so eventually they came back for us, and we spent a little time up there, and we got some close encounters with the Taliban, and in the middle of the night one night we had a patrol come up, and I'm looking around, I'm like, well, who are you? And they were like, oh, we're Navy SEALs, we're here to help. Okay, well, thanks. So there's a lot of things, but overall that was my best experience in the military, best deployment. Looking back, sometimes in the middle of that, I was like, oh, I don't know, this is not a good deal. But we got through it, and we're stronger and better for it. But I have those, plus many more experiences to bring to the table and to help teach these leaders that you've got those sort of adversaries and things you have to overcome. But then also you've got smaller things. You have to learn how to negatively counsel someone that has been in the military probably longer than you have, probably longer than you've been alive. But how do you tell them you're not performing and you're not doing a good job without making a mockery of things, or without making a very bad relationship to where that NCO then leaves and goes and tells all the soldiers not to follow you anymore? You know, so there's all sorts of things that I've had to deal with that was the main reason that the general chose me to come here and to lead this program. With looking at that resume and saying, okay, you're the best one for the job, so go down in there and make good leaders, and that's what I'm here to do. But I cannot do it alone. I am by myself right now until I can get some staff or get the Army to give me some more people, so I will heavily lean on all your expertise and professionalism in this university. I couldn't be happier. I'm exactly where I want to be. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We are delighted to have you. Thank you for your service prior to coming here. And I have a feeling she's going to bring a whole new energy to lots of places on campus. So, good to have you.
Yes, thank you very much. After the Thanksgiving holiday, the focus for students and professors is end of the semester finals, projects, recitals, exhibitions, and games. I wish everyone a safe and restful holiday season, not only Thanksgiving, but also Christmas celebrations. That ends my report. Madam Chair, I'll be answer any questions you have.
Questions? Since we don't meet next month, I guess Christmas is
Yes.
on the agenda. Okay, is there any old business? Okay, if not, we'll move to new business. Dr. LaPera, do you have some things that need action?
Yes, you should have in your packet a series of proposals that basically our committee restructuring, and I know there were several pages of committee proposals from our committee on committee. And the one, you should have gotten an email and some communication about page 13, proposal number 7. We discovered that that was not ready to go, so everything else is a go. There are then 10 proposals, and I don't know what else I need to say about them. Y'all have them. Some of them are just restructuring, some of them are changing language. A couple of them, some of the language changed just because we changed from the School of Technology to that, health science, public safety, technology, and those kinds of things.
I believe everyone had a chance to preview those. Were there any questions?
I've got a question for Dr. LaPira, a question for Dr. Speck. Dr. LaPira, we have it. I take it you recommend approval of these proposals.
Yes.
Dr. Speck, I take it you recommend approval of these proposals.
Absolutely. Dr. LaPierre and I worked with Dr. And we wouldn't bring them forward if we didn't recommend them.
Thank you.
We are recommending.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, is it fine if we entertain them as a package?
Yes, I think it's
Okay with
appropriate.
everyone?
With the exception of?
With the exception of page 13?
13.
Okay, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Mr. Anderson, second.
Second.
Mr. Fleischaker, any further discussion? If not, all in favor of accepting these as proposed by Dr. LaPierre and Dr. Speck? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. I know lots of work went into that, cleaning those things up and making new proposals. Anything else?
Yes, and then you have a small document, it's actually one page, which is from the Academic Policies Committee, and it went through the proper channels from academic policies through the Senate, and there's just a few course change, new course, and a couple, one course drop and another new course, so very simple changes.
And I believe, again, we had a chance to preview these, so. We have a motion that we accept these.
So moved.
Mr. Walter, second.
I'll second.
Mr. Ewing is seconded. No further discussion. All in favor of accepting these, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you. Anything else, Dr. LaPierre?
That's it.
Okay, thank you very much. As stated, no meeting in December. Commencement will be December 15th at 10 a.m. And we will reconvene then on January 18th for our next official board meeting, and maybe some committee meetings posted in the meantime. We do need to have an executive session for the purposes of privileged communication between a public governmental body and its attorney. Revised statute Missouri 610.0211. I need a motion to move into executive session. Mr. Ewing?
Second.
And roll call vote, please.
Rod Anderson,
Yes.
Sharon Buchanan,
Yes.
Lynn Ewing,
Yes.
Jim Fleischaker,
Yes.
Richard Walter.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Mr. Eust, I believe you're joining us for executive session. Oh, all of the presidents. What meeting? What room? 343. 343. 5 minutes.
This also, this was, notice they just mentioned that the national head was held in Joppa, and wouldn't their station in Southern?
Yeah.
My pleasure.
That report ought to be
Why they would do that.
I've already got a letter from.
I know there's facts.